Salary Sweet Sweeper Man. The story begins in the middle of a fight. Bullets rained down as the enemy shouted, "There they are! Do not let them escape!" Ray ducked behind a rock, dropping his rifle. He pulled something out from his vest and muttered, "Seriously, how did things even end up like this?" He lit a cigarette and began to smoke. One of the enemies shouted, "Where's the other one?" Laughing Phantom is always a two-man cell. Taro Sato was already behind them. He drew his knife and rifle, his expression turning deadly serious. In a flash, he stabbed one enemy with the knife and shot another. "Gah, huh?" the men cried in pain. The rest of the enemies opened fire on him. Taro grabbed one of them and used the man as a shield, then pulled out a stun grenade, flicked off the pin, and tossed it forward. "Stun grenade? Flashbang?" The enemies cried out, shocked. The explosion blinded them. Covering their eyes, they were helpless as Taro rushed in, rope. He swiftly tied them down, the scar on his forehead showing clearly under the light. Then he walked over to Ray, who was still smoking casually. "Mission accomplished," Taro said. Ray smirked. "Took your sweet time, Nin. I almost got turned into a honeycomb and had all the honey squeezed out of me." Suddenly, another wave of gunfire rained upon them. Ray frowned. "Oh, reinforcements?" Taro asked. "Ray, what's the next order?" Ray took another puff and said, "Hold up a second. Just let me have one last puff of this." "Last?" Taro repeated, confused. Ray exhaled slowly, then smiled. "Want some too?" "No, I am good." "Oh, right, you prefer this stuff instead, huh?" Ray reached into his vest. "Here." Taro froze when he saw what Ray pulled out. "This is..." Ray smiled and revealed a cookie. Taro blushed. "God, a magical cookie." "Here you go." Ray handed it to him. Taro took a big bite, his face lighting up. "With this, I can fight for a whole week." Ray chuckled. "The fact that your favorite thing is sweets like this, you're seriously something else." Taking one last drag, Ray crushed the cigarette underfoot. His expression hardened. "Someone betrayed us. All the intel was wrong, and we've lost contact with the others. Our private military company is finished." "No way," Taro muttered. Ray stood. "So, the next order is..." But before he could finish, bullets thundered around them, filling the air with chaos. "Huh, but, Ray..." Taro's eyes widened. Ray gave a faint smile. "That's an order. No questions or comments allowed. That's not an order," Taro shouted desperately. "I'll contact you again, I promise." Ray's grin returned for a moment. Later, he turned toward the hail of bullets. "Ray!" Taro screamed. In his mind, he replayed Ray's last command. At the signal, "I'll charge in and buy time. Stall them. While you..." Explosions shook the battlefield as gunfire raged. Taro clicked his tongue and ran, barely escaping. A few months later, in Japan. At the headquarters of a long-established sweets company, Swarendo, inside the marketing department. "Miss Iroha, a visitor is here for you," an office lady said. "Thanks," replied Miss Iroha Domioji. She looked up and exclaimed, "Ah, Taro." "Yes," Taro Sato replied calmly. "Could you bring some tea to the meeting room over there?" Iroha asked. "Understood." At the refrigerator, Taro frowned. No tea. At the vending machine, he began to sweat. "Not here either. None." A bald old man glanced at him curiously. Taro checked his watch. "Ugh, it's already been 1 minute since the mission began. Time left until tea is needed." The old man tilted his head in confusion. Then he bought a can of Fanta, still staring at Taro. The next second, Taro vanished. Outside, he leapt out of the building, free-falling through the air. Grabbing a light post, he spun in a full 1,080-degree flip before dropping to the street below. The civilians around him barely noticed. Landing smoothly, Taro's face turned serious. Moments later, a vending machine dispensed bottles of tea. He grabbed them and glanced up at the Swarendo building. A former mercenary, a voice narrated in his mind. A private military company once took in an orphan Japanese boy and raised him as one of their own. Taro slipped the tea bottles into his pocket. Then, with a powerful leap, he scaled the column of the building, double jumping onto the ledge. An office worker nearby kept texting her boyfriend, oblivious. But due to betrayal, that organization was destroyed. He fled his pursuers, wandered the world, and eventually drifted back to Japan. He looked at the Swarendo sign, recalling Ray's words. "The magical cookies Ray always gave me." Clinging to the ledge, he whispered to himself, "For someone like me, raised on battlefields, always brushing against death, sweets were the only joy I ever had." Opening the window, he slipped inside. "Taro?" Iroha asked, confused. He stood before her silently, coming in from the window. Miss Iroha Domioji was shocked and cried out, "Hya!" Taro Sato huffed and puffed, holding out the bottles of tea. As ordered, I've acquired the tea. Ah, thank you, Miss Iroha said as she accepted them. Taro turned to leave. Then, orders will always be carried out, he thought to himself. He glanced back once more, awaiting your next command. That was him, Taro Sato. He brushed his hair back with his hand and exhaled. Whew, a former mercenary. Mission accomplished. Miss Iroha Domiyoji's sweat dropped as she watched his strange intensity. A few moments later, as the sun set, Taro, can you take this to the product department? Iroha asked. Roger, Taro replied. At the product development department. Ah, Taro, Miss Sakura exclaimed in surprise. Good work today, Taro said calmly. Thanks a bunch. Want to try some cookies? She asked brightly. This is Miss Sakura, Taro thought. She makes almost all of Surendo's products. She's the one who creates the magical cookies. Miss Sakura sparkled with beauty, as though sugar floated in the air around her. In awe, Taro clasped his hands together and began to silently pray. Huh? Sakura tilted her head, confused at his strange behavior. But just then she tripped over some bags of flour. Kya! She yelped as she fell. Taro's eyes widened in shock. The bag flew from her hands, cookies scattering through the air. In an instant he caught Sakura with one arm, his hand landing firmly on her behind. With his other hand, he snatched 4 cookies midair. Finally, the last cookie dropped straight into his mouth. Ah! Sakura gasped. Taro bit down and spoke between chews, his face turning serious. The type of flour. I changed the flour in that one, Sakura said nervously. What do you think? The flavor exploded in Taro's mouth. His eyes widened. This is a moist texture with a refined sweetness that's not overpowering, absolutely divine. Sakura clapped her hands and beamed. Yay! That's exactly the adult flavor I was going for. The sweets Miss Sakura makes, every one of them is delicious, Taro thought, staring at her in awe. She shone like the sun as she looked back at him, cheeks red. Thanks for catching the cookies, too. Come again to eat more of my cookie, okay? Yes, I'll come again, Taro said, excitement blazing in his eyes. But from the rooftop across the street, a glint of metal appeared. Target confirmed, a Yakuza man muttered, watching through binoculars. So that's the woman you were talking about. Memorize all their faces. Tonight, we move. A few hours later, at 11:05 p.m., Taro stretched and groaned. Oh man, it's already this late. Can't work overtime anymore. Miss Iroha said earlier it's against compliance rules. Be mindful of excessive overtime. He clenched his fist. To follow orders. Then he suddenly leapt out of the office window. I must clock out without tapping my entry badge. He landed on the street below. That was when he heard it. Please stop. Taro whipped his head around and sprinted toward the sound. That voice. It's Miss Sakura. A chill ran through him. I've got a bad feeling. Help me. Somebody. Sakura screamed. Sakura! Taro roared as he charged forward. He punched one of the kidnappers straight in the face. Let go of her. Gah! The masked man grunted as he crumpled. What? Who the hell are you? Another thug shouted. Taro's eyes narrowed. I'm someone who really loves sweets. Just a regular salaryman. This isn't the battlefield I once knew. This is the land of peace, Japan. And yet, Sakura, he yelled. Taro, she cried back, struggling in their grip. Shh, a co-worker? One kidnapper spat. What a pain, another muttered. The masked thug pulled a knife. You bastard! If you don't want to get hurt, then... Taro kicked the knife out of his hand in one swift motion. Huh? The thug yelped in shock. Another punch sent him reeling. Gah! What is with this guy? Those moves aren't amateur at all. The last thug snarled, yanking a pistol from his belt and pressing it against Sakura's head. Don't move. Do you want something to happen to her? Taro froze, his eyes on the gun. A gun? In Japan? Guns are strictly regulated here. These aren't just random thugs. From a black van nearby, another masked man shouted, What are you doing? Get in now. Taro, help. Sakura screamed as they dragged her inside. The van screeched and sped off. What to do? Taro thought, his mind racing. When the enemy's objective is unclear, the standard move is to leave it to the police and regroup. But if something happens to Miss Sakura, I'll never forgive myself. Her image flashed in his mind, sparkling, sugar-filled, radiant. Come again. To eat more of my cookie, okay? Complete the mission, Taro muttered, pulling his hair back with determination. Thanks for tuning in. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who took the time to watch this video. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more content like this. If you enjoyed what you saw, consider sharing my videos or channel with your friends who might also enjoy it. Your support means the world to me. and helps my channel grow. Let's keep this community thriving together. Until next time, see you in the next video.